connectivity as to whether or not it is connecting. There we go. So before we proceed, there. Before we proceed, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, that we might be having technical difficulties along the way. So please do understand the predicament we have right now. And we are very much optimistic, though, that everything will go and run smoothly as intended. Now, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ramses Javier Casten, and this is the pre-CTW discussion. Tonight, this afternoon, we will be discussing a very important topic that severely affects the sectors of our country. Of course, the most important sector, as the educators would say, is education. And tonight we will be joined by one of our esteemed educators. He is an educator for more than 11 years and is an academic coach as well. Let's give it up for Mr. Braian Peralta. Sir Peralta, good afternoon.
Afternoon. Experienced
So,
classmate thoughts with regards to
sir,
education. Yes, sir.
yes. Before we start up, sir, basic question lamang po tayo, no? Una
Yes,
sa
sir.
lahat, sir, kumusta? How are you feeling? Kumusta po kayo?
Nowadays, I'm still in the process of coping with, especially with online teaching because I was used to the traditional, which is the face-to-face giving of instruction, but the only choice is to adapt instead of giving up. Okay, so that's the best way to face the reality nowadays.
Yeah, so actually, this is a very timely discussion, most especially for those who are into the educational sector. I know a lot of friends who are in the education sector, and
Yes,
they also face the same challenges, like tougher challenges ahead, most especially ngayon that we're
exactly.
having a pandemic. Everything's on a lockdown. The schools are doing their best, opening up. Majority of
Yes.
education institutions are actually closing shop. Mr. Peralta, what are your thoughts on this, sir? Why is it happening? Do you think that our educational system is well equipped or ill equipped when it comes to the discussions on education?
Okay, with that, let's be considerate with the several factors. So, I'm working in a private sector, so I'm lucky. So I'm thankful that um, my school is still in service now, although it's online platform. So sadness, especially for those schools who are not already giving services nowadays. As I heard in the news for a months ago that around 400 private schools that has been closed. So financial factor or financial constraint is clearing to sustain their service to the students. So, and also in behalf of the or I also see the difficulties most especially for the students because the teachers will just especially in the modular giving of instruction, right? So first question is how long would the parents of those students or be safe in going to school to get those modules? And how long would the teachers be safe in receiving those modules to check? And also, on the side of the students, the readiness, the competency. So the question there is, it's no longer the teacher that will give the discussion, the detailed instruction. It will be the parents. So I just read one post in Facebook that is, what if a parent could share a salary from the teacher? Because with that, in that format, the parents will guide his or her respective children, right? So the delivery of the lesson is not the same anymore. So I'm just on that part because I'm a product of a public school. So I really experience the instruction and I really appreciate that. So I hope the government, the Department of Education, can find best solution as early as possible. Of course, it's not practical to stop education because learning is continuous anywhere, anytime. So, and also learning can be applied regardless if there is book or any available technology or it's just merely an interview. So there are many ways, and so I hope the Department of Education could see the loopholes nowadays. So I feel the difficulties of the teachers, the parents, and of course the learners. Entire system will be given consideration. So knowing those factors.
But Mr. Peralta, sir,
Yes, sir.
you have mentioned earlier about
Yes, po.
some parents who are complaining na sana
Yes.
eh they would
They,
have a
they would
share
receive,
of
opo, opo.
the salary of the teachers, no? Kasi we also have that very same concern, especially with those who are in the sector, no? Those there are
Yes.
parents, and these are good things. That there are parents who are willing to teach their children because that's part and
Yes, of
parcel part
course.
of parenthood. But there are
Yes.
also instances when the parents themselves, as much as they want to, they cannot share their insights. They cannot what do you call this? They cannot
They
discuss
cannot
stuff.
afford to impart the
They,
knowledge. Okay.
and another thing is they do
Yes.
it's saddening, but they do not have the capability because they probably might not have achieved the same educational stand
Yes.
as their children would have been, and that is a little bit perplexing, most especially in our educational system like this. Sir, how do we cope up? How do you think would we cope up with a situation like this?
So, in that manner, so since I'm an experienced teacher, so in this way, so maybe radio broadcast, since radio is more reachable to any households in the entire country compared to television and of course the computer, right? So there's still remote areas, especially for those families living in the DDO areas or deprived, depressed, underprivileged. So how willing our parents to send their children to school, and of course how willing our learners to learn if the resources are not accessible enough, so it would hinder the progress of learning. So I hope the government can add to, especially can support us, especially when it comes to the giving of the learning the resources. So radio station would be practical. So aside from television, and of course the
We are facing a lot of
yes, sir.
concerns right now, ano? Especially for those who are
Yes,
who live in the hinterlands. Let's face it, not everyone is enjoying the pleasures of metropolitan Manila. Not everyone is
yes.
enjoying Metro Cebu. Not everyone is enjoying Metro Davao. Not everyone has the privilege of studying in cities. Most of them are
Okay,
living in
sir.
the rural
Opo.
areas, no? And
Even sir,
yes, go ahead.
can I okay.
Sure.
Even in our case, we're lucky enough that my students are well, so socio-economically they are stable. But then there are cases, especially even if I'm residing in Valenzuela, of course there is still connectivity issue. So somewhat it still hinder the learning or the delivery of the lesson. So um, even in private sector that the resources are available, there are still factors that can be considered as problem as far as education is concerned.
There. So, before we continue, I'd like to encourage everyone who are watching right now on Facebook and YouTube to please ask questions as much as possible, so that we can be more conducive, especially with our discussion. Before we continue, let us first do a time check. The time in the Republic of the Philippines is 5:11 p.m. So, continuing our discussion, we are facing a lot of challenges. Hindi lamang
Yes,
if I may speak in Filipino for those who do not understand Filipino, hindi lamang sa aspetong edukasyon. We also face connectivity issues. We face issues of gadgets. No, there are a
yes,
lot of resources that may be done, but not everyone has that same privilege.
yes,
Not every city is Pasig City. Not every mayor is Vico Soto. And
yes,
I'm quite sure in the city of Valenzuela, Mayor Gatchalian is doing his best as well in order to sustain the educational needs of the people there, of the populace there.
yes,
So, ito yung pinagtataka natin eh. What do you think, sir, is the number
yes.
one, number two, and number three major defects of the new quote unquote new normal educational system in our country?
Okay, I could say number one is um, the delivery of instruction. So the delivery is a big question mark. Number two, um, how far can we go as we practice these things, regardless if it's online platform or modular. So if it's sustainable enough. And number three, um, the impact to our students. So how prepared they are. So as far as retention, readiness are are for them. So learning the concept and of course how to apply those concepts in real life situation. Because if you will just accept the module, of course you can scan and skim to it, right? You can easily look at it. But the question is um, the process of learning. How a certain Filipino student, if it's easy for him or her, or it's difficult for him or for her. So, and also how accessible their respective teachers, if there will be questions to be asked or concerned by the learners. Because I watched in the news last night or 2 nights ago that the teachers are willing to cater the messages through messenger or Facebook or text or call from the students. So what if you have 150 students? So how is it practical to cater all their concerns at a time? So it's really hard. So I'm questioning number one, the delivery of instruction. Number two, inability. And number three, the impact to its learners as far as mastery of the lesson is concerned.
So
So
you're
I'm
not
I'm
just
up
talking. Yes,
to
go
those
ahead.
three. So I'm very much concerned with those three. So yun yung kita ko na I hope na the Department of Education, and of course, even teachers could see reflection because the teachers will just give the module, will record the scores. The question is, yung the sense of end, di ba? Parang hindi na it's no longer the teachers delivering the lesson, imparting knowledge because you are just giving the modules, you're just checking you're just scores, so it's not anymore. So it's hurting, it's hurt, reality hurts, right? So whether we like it or not, that's the reality. In my case, since I'm teaching online, um, my most common problem is also the time. Because once you disconnect, of course, the momentum of delivering the lesson is disrupted, right?
Exactly.
So once you're connected again with your students, of course, they will just, oh, our teacher is already here. Okay, he is back. They're talking another topics not related to the lesson anymore. So it's quite challenging how to get back again their interest towards the lesson. So regardless if it's public or private sector, there are so many things to be done. So
We are not
with
just
regards to those three,
talking about basic education here. Everyone
yes,
knows that the educational system of the Philippines is divided into three: basic education,
yes,
higher education, and
education,
technical education.
yes,
In my personal perspective as a trainer for technical vocational education under TESDA, it's a very serious challenge. Most if not all of the training programs were officially suspended because of the pandemic. I am a trainer for contact center services, National Certificate 2, and being a trainer for CCS is a good thing because it enabled us, especially those who are in the ICT sector, in the sectors that do not actually provide what you call this actual training, hands-on
yes,
training. We are
mm,
permitted to do online classes, but there are
opo,
other courses there that are seriously affected, that are seriously impacted by this new normal because it brings us into a lot of uncertainty. Most trainers only have that as their jobs, and it also is facing an impact as well because trainers are also workers. Let's face it. We all need money to survive, and the trainers are also affected with it. But moving back to basic and higher education, educators, especially on your end, Mr. Peralta, we
yes,
are
sir.
actually there are some teachers who are actually laid off. No? So, do you think that it's still a good thing? Do you think that our that the teacher support, uh, the support for our educators still at a good edge, or do you think it still needs a lot of improvement, or do you think it's on the decline? Your thoughts on
Um, if you're referring to private sector, sir, so um, since there are a lot of schools has been closed, so there are a lot of teachers nowadays that are unemployed. So it impacted them negatively. Okay, so um, I mean, it's not the end if you lost your job, but the question here is, how about those excellent teachers, dedicated teachers who lost their job? I just heard from the Department of Education that uh, I hope that they're going to get from the private sectors to help them in pursuing the mode of instruction, especially in modular platform. So it will be granted since the school opening of public school will happen this Monday, right? It's October 5. So I
yes?
think it's the celebration of teachers. Okay, it's World Teachers Day. So hope that it will be realized because it will be those dedicated and vigilant in in their respective specialization. The, their skills will be wasted if they were given a chance or opportunity to work. So of course, I'm encouraging, especially for those who lost their job, that there are ways to make a living. So I'm not saying that it's the end of the world. Okay, so maybe in my case, so the rabbit tree for almost 4 months. So I'm just sharing this one, and of
Mhm.
course. try urban gardening. Uh, once we once we want to explore something, of course, and of course, we need to as well.
So let's
So I
move
think there's
forward.
a
There is a
question in our
question here.
box.
Yes, there is a question on the chat box. It states here from
Yes.
Abiron Chien Kamsa Kasim, who happens to also be
Okay.
a political science student in Notre Dame of Tacurong. The question is, good afternoon po. I just want to ask lang po if what are the possible ways para hindi ma-divert yung attention ng bata on terms of studying his or her lessons. Gaya ngayon po, my younger brother and sister are bored dahil tinatamad po silang mag-study lalo na ngayon na may pinadalang modules. Our parents are and also me are busy and we cannot find some time to teach them. Seems like self-study is not their thing. So, what are your thoughts on that, Mr. Peralta?
Okay, so since our first school, our respective homes, right, and our parents considered as our first teacher, of study habits, discipline, um, would do a lot. So of course, if you make a routine for your kids or for your children, it will make them a habit to follow such schedule pattern. So, for example, their sleeping or eating habits, of course, leisure time, and of course, their study time. So, there will be varieties. So, for our students at home to not get bored time in a positive way. So, instead of letting them, okay, you answer that module. So it's not a generation nowadays. They don't to scold to heard something that in a shout manner. So instead of that, so making some reinforcement to the attention of the students. The students are influenced by social media nowadays negatively. So, with game, so, i-relate ko lang, one of my students is asking, are you playing ML? So,
Nako,
I just answered it honestly. So, I just answered it honestly because if I will tell a lie, so it's not good, right? So, as a role model, so I agree. The 5 months, um, my cellular phone is still functional. So I paid it damage. So I stopped playing ML since I'm only using my laptop in my teaching. One good way to direct the students' attention is to make a routine. So there will be a pattern, a schedule, a time to play, a time to so just to ask at the end of the day, parents will ask, okay, how's your is it productive? What's your assignment? So you have time to talk to respective kids. How can I help you? So it's not, and also to the parents, it's not good to, while their students is answering or studying, the parents will answer the questions. You are there to guide. You are not there to spoon feed, to give the to the kids. Because if you will do that, if you'll keep that a habit to your respective kids, it's not them that they will learn. It's so I hope that the
exactly.
parents yeah, okay. So um so the attention balik tayo sa pag-divert ng attention to make a routine for the students.
So there we have it. That is the answer given to us by Mr. Braian Peralta on the question of Miss Abiron Kasim of Takurong. So before we proceed and before we proceed with our next segment, before we let Mr. Peralta go for this afternoon, we will be, for those who have no idea yet who Mr. Peralta is. Mr. Braian Peralta is also a podcaster who wants to, share his mind and opinion on a lot of issues as well that affects the country. He is also, hindi po ba sir, you're also a content creator as well? Plug na po natin yung podcast niyo.
Actually, I'm very not yet. I don't have yet, but I'm still in the process of pursuing it. So I got interested because in our learning management system, I saw there the word podcast, and then I researched. So it's a talk show. So since I'm very conversant, right, hindi halata. So since I'm very talkative in a positive way, so why not maximize this by reaching other people? So by sharing insights, experiences. So I hope the one who's asking a question a while ago, I hope answered and I help her.
There you go. So, Mr. Peralta, spotlight po muna natin kayo for a few minutes, and then would you share your
Yes, sir.
message for the people? What's your message for all our viewers, for all our listeners who will be listening over this and sharing this from all perspectives? We're live now on Facebook. We're also live now on YouTube, and later on we will have this edited and cleaned out so that this could also be shared on our podcasts. Any message for the Filipino people, sir?
Okay, so I'll be speaking for the rest of the Filipino. With the past 7 months or 8 months, I hope everyone is still optimistic. So all we have to do is to work together. Let's look on the brighter side of this because I know that God is always there for all of us. So will not allow us to destroy our respective lives, but all we have to do is to keep our spirit alive, and of course, let's do our daily routines to keep our physical aspect, and of course, mental health is also important. So I hope everyone is having a quality time with their respective family because not all of us during this pandemic is with our respective families. So just like me, I'm very much apart with my family since my family is in Dayas, but I'm fortunate enough that I have my family not biologically related, but I have found my family here in Valenzuela. So one, I would like to share this quotation. I hope this will inspire you. So it says, "Life is not just for living. Let's make life worth living for. Life is just once, but if we live it right, once is enough." So with that, um, I I hope we can see you and the learning of this entire experience of this pandemic because not even a single of us like this. So let's always appreciate for what we have and let's be contented. So God bless everyone.
And that was Mr. Braian Peralta, 11 years as an educator, an academic coach, and above all, a proud supporter of educational rights. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Peralta will also be joining us at our incoming series that is the Connecting the World, an international seminar series from October to December of 2020. Mr. Peralta, thank you so much for your time and I hope to hear from you soon. Magko-collab po tayo sa ating podcast siguro mamaya mga 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock if it's all right with you. And again, thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir.
Saludo po kami sa inyo in behalf of the Filipino
It's
nation.
my
We thank
honor
you.
also.
We thank you for your services for the youth of our nation. Maraming salamat po, sir.
Thank you so much, and God bless.
All right, that was Mr. Braian Peralta, educator and above all, an education rights activist. Mga kabarangay, dear friends, we would like to notify that we are now on our next segment of our discussion. We are actually on the importance of the sectors that are involved. Mr. Peralta's sector is just the first one of the many sectors that we will be covering, especially in our discussion on connecting the world. Now, this afternoon, we will be joined by our resident experts from different parts of the country. We have two resident experts actually. The two experts that we have who are the best in the field. First, we will be joined by our resident expert at Rams Peaks. He has joined us in the different segments and sectors, including the presidential candidate series and the SONA analysis. Let's give it up for Mr. Hilmar Moriones. Hil, kumusta pare? Kumusta?
Hello, good afternoon, Ren. Good afternoon, everyone, especially sa mga nanonood. Actually, Ram chat me already. Medyo di ako ready for this. But, yun. I just seen this live. I just seen
Mhm.
this live in FB, and then he chat me, "Are you ready for the next segment?" And then I was shocked. Like, I was became unprepared so far. So I have no choice but to join this. But thank you for giving this opportunity that I'm coming back to the services. Especially greetings to all of the viewers in all parts of the Philippines, not just here but also the entire world. Have a nice day and good day to you, everyone.
O wag mo munang putulin. Greetings to the greetings muna. Wag mo nang ganun.
Greetings nga.
And
Sige na.
also, we will be joined by another one of our experts. Bagong salta lang to, Hilmar, kaya alagaan natin to.
Oo nga
This
eh.
is,
Mm.
apparently, she is our resident expert on gender equality affairs. Let's
Oo.
welcome, above all, Miss Chen Casulia. Chen, hi! Kumusta, Besh? Kumusta?
Hi guys, good
Yeah.
afternoon. Can you hear
Yeah.
me good?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
We
ma'am.
can hear you loud and clear.
We can hear you.
Hi, kamusta ang lahat? Yeah, it's a privilege to be here with you guys.
So, going back to our primary discussion, I'm very sorry. I just saw Hilmar drinking water in front of the world. But anyways, yes, let's go ahead, Hil. First and foremost, basic question lang tayo mga analysts, ano? Mga analysts talaga, wow. These two, if you may notice, Chen and Hilmar, these both are experts in their own field. Hil is an expert on politics, while Chen is an expert on gender equality. And these both will be covered on our incoming Connecting the World series. Hil, I know that
Hmm.
you're a little bit excited on the series,
Yeah.
although alam ko medyo, I know that you nagtatampo ka ng konti sa akin. Pero tell us more. Tell us more about it. Tell us more about your excitement in the series.
Yeah. Actually, it's a chance on our part as a advocate for political education here in the Philippines that uh noting that we have this pandemic, it is totally discourage everybody to have outside, and especially on us, 'di ba? Like, actually, we can organize it outside eh. Like, pili tayo nyo, and then stick tayo ng plan, drop tayo ng plan to how to organize this seminar. But instead, ang kaibahan is, noting that we have pandemic and all totally restricted outside activity, we already connected easily, not just easily, but hindi naman ganun ka-easy, but we connected well to our speakers, especially from different sectors or local or international groups. The excitement of this is a challenge because it is the hamon sa atin na although we are experiencing some difficulty in online class, in new normal classes like this. Uh, the challenge of us is whether we can continue our learning on the new normal mode
Mhm.
within or outside, within or the outside the four corners of the classroom. So
Mm.
hamon sa atin to na kakayanin ba nating matuto? Kakayanin ba nating matuto sa four sides ng classroom in a new normal setting? This time in online setting kailangan hindi lang tayo nakabase sa tinuturo ng mga guru natin in online class, but we should seize the opportunity na hindi lang maputol doon ng opportunity sa online class na traditional but we should try to escape ourselves and seize the opportunity to learn more on our field, especially outside, especially we come to into this seminar series. So I'm glad I'm very excited to this one because yun maraming matututunan as well. The thing and another thing is the pandemic which shifts already the kind of perspective, especially gender equality, the diplomacy, which I know from the last few for the past few months is already shifted so far. So ayun, maraming matututunan especially from our guest speakers.
So yan. Actually friends, nahihirapan mo talaga ako feel sa subtitles, no? English to international to joke. But anyways, the series actually is a very big challenge. It's a very serious challenge. Lalo na nga sa atin kasi these are issues. Ito light conversation pa lang ito. This is a very light conversation. This is not the conversation that you will be encountering on actual seminars and series. What we four, including Sir Brian earlier, are doing now is just a light chit chat. The
Mm.
serious matter, the serious issue, is really happening on the series where there will be little laughter, little fun. It's gonna focus more on the things that matter to all of us, especially to those who are really into the game. We are facing a new normal, a new perspective on things. The
Yeah.
education system is very, very different from what it used to be. And
Yeah.
especially right now, the kasagsagan po ito. We are in the middle of, what we call this, we are in the middle of protests about gender equality,
Yeah.
race equality, equality at all forms and at all levels.
Yeah.
In which I would ask Miss Chen about this. Miss Chen, on your perspective, I know that you are a staunch advocate of LGBT rights
Mm.
in the workplace, outside of the workplace, and everywhere. What are your thoughts in the current situation nga ba sa ating daigdig ngayon?
Well, thank you for that question. Well, with that said, what we can do, or let's say my word about it, is a lot. Like, we cannot just stick to one word about what's going on about this pandemic. And sobrang daming nangyayari around the world right now. Like, aside from pandemic, we are having such crisis na din. Plus, nakikisabay pa itong LGBT issues ng mga tao against it, right? So, all I can say about it is, it depends kasi po It depends sa kung anong main certain issue yung kinakaharap natin. So, we really cannot say kung ano talaga yung dapat sabihin about sa mga ganong bagay. It actually depends. So, meron tayong kanya-kanyang point of view about those certain topics.
Uh, Short but concise. Parang dictionary lang to mga kabarangay. But that's actually who are listening right now. This is actually purpose why seminar is created. Frankly speaking, and I'm very sorry for those who would be saying this, pero most of the speakers, if not all, are not because they are PhD graduates, not because they obtain the highest honor in their respective fields, but rather because they have the heart to share their perspective. Good old friend once told me that I may not be an expert, but at least I have my own experience that I can share to everybody. And that's the exact point here, my dear friends. Kaya nga I'd like to ask our panelists a question. Kasi both Mr. Sir Hill and Miss Chen are connected with us personally, but then as speakers or as analysts of Ram Speaks, they had a different approach. They actually have different backstories on how they got chosen as speakers. So to give you a quick run through for those who are watching right now, wherever you may be, baka gusto nyo maging speaker, you might want to get insights from these two. Let's start with you first, Miss Chen, kasi parang mas interesting daw yung story mo eh. How did you
Oh.
become how did you become a speaker pala for Ram Speaks para at least everyone would know?
Well, I just wanted to let you know, guys, how thankful I am to be part of Rams Week. Well, hindi naman magiging possible yon because of you. You know
Bola.
that. Totoo yan. Like, he just posted something on Facebook, like he needs some, not really a help, but someone na pwedeng, alam mo yun, to be fit on that part, on that position. So, sabi ko, wow, malaking break to for me. So I message him right away. Like I just click his name, not checking all the information he has on Facebook account. So I message him and sobrang lucky ko kasi sobrang in-entertain talaga niya ako, ganyan. Tapos he asked for my information, insights and backgrounds. I don't know. Di ko alam kung wala lang bang masamang tinapay sa taong 'to, yang kausap natin ngayon, totoo 'to guys, na he accepted me, he gave me this break, and I will make sure na we will be connecting with the world, with all the insights I have, with each and every point that you're gonna be giving me. So, why not, 'di ba? So, sobrang thankful ako sa'yo sir, alam mo 'yan. 'Yun yung reason bakit ako part nito.
Ayan. Oo, pahirapan niyo lang ako mag-subtitle. Hindi ko 'to ipa-publish ng live sa YouTube. I-e-edit ko talaga 'tong ginagawa niyong dalawa, oo. Well,
Ay!
actually, yeah, that's Chen's story. Actually, Chen just responded to a post kasi nga pakuwento ko na kay Phil para malaman niya na kung bakit hindi ko talaga siya
Mm.
kinukuha sa ano, sa sa paneling table. Ganito kasi 'yan. May speaker talaga na tagalabas and then ano siya, tawag nito pahirapan. So hindi ko siya ma-contact and kailangan niya kasi LGBT kasi may lalaki, may babae, may LGBT dapat, 'di ba?
Yeah,
That's how equality works eh.
oo.
Uh, I got an LGBT speaker from Sweden. Hindi naman sa umayaw, pero sininzone lang ako ng Bruhilda. And may pangalawa pa na taga ano naman, I'm not so sure kung taga saan siya eh. Pero, yun nga, magaling din, may dekorasyon din, maraming ano, pero hindi naman ako pinapansin. Siyempre, hindi kita pwedeng kunin, Hill, kasi ikaw yung secret weapon ko, Chong.
Grabe
Yeah,
naman.
I will make this announcement really seriously public para lang sa kaalaman ng lahat. Hill over here together with Luis Palay and Antonio Jason Pabe are the original are the original panel of experts. Kumbaga kung sa palabas pa sila yung Iron Chefs. Sila
Grabe
yung
naman po.
sila yung pinakaunang tinap ng Rams Geeks to cover on something and they are an integral part of the event. So, Antonio Fabe will be joining the October event on diplomacy. Luis Palay will be joining the November event on and si Hilmar Moriones will be joining us both as panelists and guest moderator sa December na event. Hindi ko pa dinidisclose ang December na event because we still need speakers. And to be frank with everybody, Hill is the first. Na-announce ko. So I cannot announce the rest yet because I still have to juggle the different speakers na nag-o-audition ko sa porn. So there. Kwento mo na, Hill, talk to us how you got into this. Ba't ka ba napunta dito in the first place?
Actually, don't know. I don't know kung anong hangin ang pumunta sa akin sa REM space. But as I've said, marami kasi akong political analyst talaga na interview sa TV like Professor Richard A. Darian, which is the most idol talaga in terms of discussing about this analysis of politics. I really appreciate him every time I see on TV. I really appreciate him every time I see his posts on Facebook and Twitter and on his IG and I know like that like that I am really impressed on how he works like a real political analyst, especially I see him in TV. But the original inspiration talaga is my professor from University of Caloocan City. I will mention him personally, Prof. Andy Matula. If you're watching this right now, you're really my inspiration to do this one. Na you know what? Um, sa amin ang mentality kasi pag political science is it was taken for granted like uh I was here I was here just to graduate, just to take a degree or um just to comply with the requirements by our professors and respective teachers. But on my 4 year stay in college, especially I take this political science, I really appreciate on what professors on what professors teach us so far. Na although it's not based on great requirement, but yung purpose mo is to learn talaga. That's why I ano I ano pa I was able to dedicate myself to the field, not just to comply with the requirements. Not just hindi ko naman sinabi na hindi ako magko-comply, but to dedicate myself talaga na i-learn talaga tong political science na to. Especially in times of leadership, especially in times of leadership mishaps, issues, and other issues that affecting us Filipinos. The thing actually it was my big break when ikaw ay nag-ano sa akin. Actually, ewan ko kayo kung nag-approach sa akin or I was able to send my interest. But from the series of I think the presidential preference for 2022 national elections. Yeah, ganun nga. Ganun nga. It was my big break. It was my big break so far. And and together with my colleagues, I was able to speak well. I exercise well, speak well to express all my thoughts when it comes to when it comes to political issues, which requires my analysis so far. And after that, ayun, yung pag-isipan ko naman to be regular. Busy lang kasi kaya di makapag-produce ng podcast like self like yung mga ginagawa ng iba't ibang panel of experts dito. But I would able to thank personally Ram
Bola
to
mo.
give me a to give for giving me such breaks to this. The although I'm not yeah I admit uh I'm not great like hey Darian. I'm not great like my professor so far. I am aminin ko I have marami pang kakaining bigas. Pero ayun nga, I have my personal advocacy to share what I learn, what I read, and what I see, what I observe, because just because the people needs that. The people needs that. One of the important issue that so far we have suffering right now is education. So if technical academic is not really access to all everyone, but at least us, tayong mga Pilipino, have the initiative Not just although we are not giving them direct access, but to share what did i-share sa kanila kung ano yung natutunan natin sa eskwela, which is tayo may direct access. Kasi kasi if we cannot do this, oo, tayo yung umangat, pero yung ibang nasa laylayan, paano sila aangat? Ganun kasi ang primary point out ko na kung ako umangat, kung ako umangat sa mga natutunan ko, sila papaangatin ko din. Ganun lang. Ganun lang. So I gave my devotion and dedication to uh, when time requires to this program, to this segment. And that's all my story about my
Ako na
uh
ako naman mga kabarangay, puputulin na kita,
uh,
bahala ka diyan. Ako naman mga kabarangay, the exact story of why the series happened. It's your right to know. Um, uh, I'm doing this also as part of a public statement explanation kasi uh, a few people, especially those who are in the panel knows this. Pinaalam ko sa team ng Ram Speaks, pinaalam ko sa mga personal kong kakilala, pinaalam ko sa mga taong importante sa akin. Everyone knows that there's a blatant reality that happened na medyo mabigat on my end. I was falsely accused. There's this black propaganda smeared against me by someone who claimed that I was a terrorist, who claimed that I was someone who, who would implicate major crimes, who would, sinisi pa ako sa Marawi, ha? Sinisi ako sa Marawi that I was one of the masterminds daw. Alam mo yung, yes, it should be petty. Napaka-petty dapat nun eh, for someone with a thick mind. Pero, it severely affects us kasi nga, we are living in a world of misinformation. People would believe anything with a grain of salt. Especially sa Ram Speaks. Alam naman ng lahat na Ram Speaks more or less. Hindi naman sa nagmamayabang, pero we are slowly becoming a source of vital information. We're slowly becoming a source of vital significance when it comes to connect to platforms, to educational discussions, to stuff na kailangang i-build up, di ba? So, makakaapekto talaga yun, most especially if they'll discover out of fake news na si Ram daw pala ay terorista. So, alam niyo yung down na down ako, nagkasakit ako dahil doon. Hindi ako, I actually ceased broadcasting sa YouTube. So, medyo mahirap yun para sa akin. It was a very serious challenge. And one day, may isang student na taga Governor Antonio D. Tan College sa Tangub na siyang parang nag-uplift ng ano ko, ng site ko. Sinabi niya, hindi naman yan totoo, kuya. Hindi naman yan totoo. And gagawin natin ang lahat para malinis ang pangalan. Gagawin natin ang lahat para mapagtanggol. Gagawin natin ang lahat para ma-vindicate ka. Na-appreciate ko yun kasi, alam mo, Hil, alam mo yung tipong, hindi ko kilala yung tao eh. Hindi ko yun ka-close, bro. Hindi ko yun ka-close, hindi ko yun kaibigan, hindi ko yun, wala akong kaano-ano dun. The last thing we ever reconnected was admin kasi ako ng Hugot and she is a subscriber of Hugot. And eventually, yun nga, may mga kaibigan lumalapit and eventually nalinis ang pangalan natin. Although up until now, those of you who have heard the allegations against me, marami sa inyo ang naniwala agad and shunned me out. Nakakalungkot mang sabihin pero shunned me out. Tinanggal talaga ako sa eksena nila. And maraming naniniwala na hindi nga ako, hindi ako tao na may reputasyon and all. And kahit na ganun, this single girl from Tango, this single student from Tango, this single political scientist from Tango has given us the inspiration na sa kabila ng disinformation, we need to educate the people more. And that's what Ram Speaks actually is. We are more on educating the people to let them speak their mind. Kaya nabuo tong connecting the world. Kasi we're connecting the world with different issues, with different topics that would affect them. Lalo na alam natin alam mo yung tipong the issues like education, politics, diplomacy, racial justice, social justice, ano pa ba, economics. Yung mga yun kailangan kasi natin ng malinaw na perspektiba sa lahat ng mga bagay-bagay na yun. And to be frank and honest with everyone, ang inspirasyon ko rito ay kayo. Kayong lahat. Kayong lahat na nanonood ngayon, each and every single one of you who is watching, who is sharing these videos, who communicates with me from time to time, who gives feedback, who critics, kayo po ang inspirasyon ng connecting the world. And it's because of you, that's why we are connecting the world. Yun nga Habang hinihintay natin si Chen, Chen, bumalik ka na, parang awa mo na. She got disconnected kasi. Pero while we are waiting, bro, maano ko lang, chika ko lang, ang dami na pala nating participants. We already have 200 plus participants,
200
tentative,
plus. Oh, alright.
all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
All over the world, pare ko, ya. So,
Uh-huh.
and we're not just talking about 200 participants lang.
Mm-hmm.
Marami ring mga potential na participants who are talking with us na baka daw pwedeng organization nila, baka pwedeng yung school nila, baka pwedeng yung club daw nila pwedeng sumali sa atin. Alam mo yung mga tipong gano'n na tipong, wow,
Oo.
grabe yung outpouring of support nila.
Mm-mm.
Hindi yun pangkaraniwan.
Mm-mm.
So yun, on your end, balitaan mo naman kami pare ko. Anong update sa iyo? Anong update sa Caloocan State? 'Di ba Caloocan UCC pala, sorry. Caloocan State. UCC, University of the City of Caloocan. Kumusta?
Okay
Anong
naman
update
so
doon?
okay naman so far. Actually may naman siya nababalitaan. Actually no personal connection na ako sa institution namin since I graduate last 2 years ago. Actually, since I graduate nga pala last 2 years ago. I have no personal connections but more of that, nababalitaan ko yung mga programs ng council nila like kumusta because of yun nga it is based on psychological program na parang ipe-personal na kumustahin yung mga students who are taking this course right now, especially this new normal, especially maraming walang access sa technology like laptop, internet data and other gadgets. Medyo nakaka-paralysis talaga, paralisado sa amin na paralisado on their part na wala silang ganung access just to learn from their professors to the lesson so far. So, ang ASAP is kumuha ng mga speakers from psychology field just to org program. So far okay naman siya and ayun. Then may mga ano pa naman,
So,
may mga
mhm.
then may mga I don't know everything about University of Caloocan City but ayun nga actually may concern. Hindi naman concern but itatanong ko siya isa sa mga but yung online graduation nila which is yun nga may mga ibang university ang nag-graduation na kahit online na just to mentioning their names on FB Live and ayun. But may nagsabi ata sa akin na wala ng graduation kahit online na siya gawin. But I will personally tatanungin 'yan sa mga sa mga friends ko na nasa school. But so far good ang UCC. May mga concerns lang about online class sa mga naririnig ko, sa mga rumors na naririnig ko especially sa mga students na hirap na hirap talaga. Hirap na hirap talagang hirap na hirap talaga to this setup.
All right.
Ayun.
So,
Mm.
ito, before we end, kasi alas 6 na isang oras lang kasi yung programa natin every Saturday, and then actually for preparation kasi to bro ng ano, for preparation to ng Connecting the World, we will be using I'm not so sure if we will be using tawag na ito, StreamYard, or we will be using Restream. Restream tong gamit natin eh. And medyo maganda naman, mukhang
Okay.
maganda naman nata yung interface niya. Ang ganda nga ng ano niya eh.
Oo.
Simple lang pero may dating.
Oo.
And there. So, before we let go, Hilmar, baka may message ka. Invite them to join us in our series.
Ayun, just I will personally invite all of you sa mga nanonood just to join the Connecting the World, this seminar series, which runs from this coming October 24 until this coming 2020. This coming 2020, December 2020 pala, I'm sorry. Dito, as I personally see the program, it will be a really exciting so far, lalo na sa mga policy measures and other sectors ng ating lipunan to hear the side about the issues that shaping our current living, tulad ng diplomacy. Ano nga ba yung current shape ng ano natin ngayon, ng diplomasya ngayon, pakikipag-ugnayan ng Pilipinas sa ibang bansa. Then yung then another one is the gender equality. Ano nga bang status ng gender equality dito sa Pilipinas? And the other two will be, I don't know if legit siya, but in respect to this, in respect, I will not spoil it. I'll not spoil it so far. So I will personally invite you to join our seminar. It is free, free, walang babayaran. But
Yes.
if you're willing to donate some funds for the program, di naman ito voluntary to, hindi naman sa pilitan. But you can speak to Mr. Ram for such to other modes of, kung ano mga modes of payment ang gagawin. Uh, another thing is, kung may certificate, yes, may certificate naman siya upon request, and we will give it through electronic mails. Ayan. So ayun, just please join us to seminar series. I will see you then on October 24, which is the first series ng ating Connecting the World seminar series. Ayan.
Ayan. And that was Hilmar Moriones, resident expert of Ram Speaks, everybody.
Thank you, Samira.
So, ladies and gentlemen, mga kabarangay, friends, we know that it's a very tough challenge. Especially for our seminar series, it's not a joke. Kumbaga, the system of education now in our country is not something to be laughed at, and it's a very serious thing. Na we have people who have volunteered, like Hilmar and Shen, and I won't be naming other speakers, pero some of them are in the national, international fields, some are even in the local fields, who are willing to share their expertise, especially at a time like this. And kabarangay, mga kaibigan, we will let go before we end this discussion. It's already 6:04. We will let go with this very simple thought. Friends, colleagues, those who are listening right now, it is a challenge. Seryosong challenge po ang laban natin, but then we will make sure Ram Speaks and the entire panel of experts, everyone who's forming Connecting the World, and all our friends will make sure that the system of our discussions, our educational discussions, our seminars will continue and will be uninterrupted hanggang sa kaya po natin. And I think that's it on our series this afternoon. Magandang hapon, magandang gabi po sa lahat. Ang oras po natin dito sa buong Pilipinas 6:05 na po ng hapon. Thank you very much, Hel, Chen, Sir Peralta. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po. And always remember, you are loved. Pinamahal kayo. Good afternoon. Mabuhay ang edukasyon ng ating